There's so many more women in the workplace, and there are an unprecedented number of breadwinners who are female, but yet our culture doesn't embrace that and doesn't try and provide help for women, you know, at the workplace.
Yeah, we have a long way to go, I think, with that. You know, in Sweden, I have some, you know, clients or friends who are like talking about how they'll get a year off. You know, just like the mother will get a year off and her job guaranteed.
We're so backwards when it comes to that stuff, yet we're just working, you know? When you would think that that time has arrived, you know? And that legislation would be introduced to be kinder to women.
Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Armanda Legros. I worked for an armored truck company on Long Island for 2 years before I was pushed out of my job. I was 6.5 months pregnant when I pulled a muscle in my stomach doing some heavy lifting at work. My doctor told me to avoid heavy lifting so I wouldn't hurt myself again. He was also concerned because I had a miscarriage a few months earlier. My manager took one look at the note and sent me home without pay indefinitely.
It's 2016, and pregnancy is still costing women their jobs.
I had no choice but to apply for public assistance. When I was 8.5 months pregnant, my health insurance was cut off. Once my baby arrived, just putting food on the table for him and my 4-year-old was a challenge. I was forced to use water in his cereal at times because I could not afford milk. I haven't been on public assistance before, so having to go through that process was very difficult. Just standing on that line, like I dreaded it, is kind of humiliating. I eventually lost my apartment. Be careful, turn around. I don't feel any family should do without and have to struggle because of discrimination.
In recent years, charges of pregnancy discrimination filed with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission have been rising. Since World War II, the percentage of women in the workforce has grown exponentially. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act banned gender discrimination by employers. But in 1976, the Supreme Court ruled that pregnancy discrimination was still okay. Congress acted quickly to correct this, and in 1978 passed the Pregnancy Discrimination Act. In 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed. But generations later, working women are still fighting the same battles.
Now! How is this justifiable in 2016 in America? When pregnant women are forced off the job, we know they are robbed of critical income they need to support their families. And women...
Pregnancy is a key trigger for lifelong inequality for women. The wage gap increases disproportionately and really has a lifelong impact.
Dina Baxt is a lawyer. She founded the nonprofit A Better Balance to provide pro bono services for working moms and to push key legislation like the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act.
Pregnant women who work in Wall Street or in a law firm or in any sort of professional setting really don't think twice about, taking an extra bathroom break, or light duty is not really an issue. But for women in low-wage and physically demanding jobs, where there is an affirmative need for accommodation to stay healthy, the courts have really grappled and in many cases have left pregnant workers unprotected.
I did it.
Very good. Do it again. Good. Do it again.
A few months into her employment as a maintenance associate at Walmart, Candace became pregnant with her third child.
I felt like they didn't care, because here I am with this huge belly, walking around, pushing this cart full of things, sometimes lifting up this heavy pail of mop water to put onto the cart, and they seen that. And it was just like, there's the maintenance girl. I began to get really sick because of the chemicals that I was using to clean the restroom, to the point where I was hospitalized several times. I was scared for my unborn child's life. I just started to just feel to the point where the fumes and the chemicals and everything that I was working with, I just couldn't. And a few days after this is when I passed out at the bus stop.
Her doctors told her to stay away from the cleaning products she worked with, so she requested to be switched to cashier duty. She was allowed to work as a door greeter, but says she wasn't allowed a stool to sit on during her 8-hour shift.
I started to feel even sicker to the point where I would have to call out. After calling out a few times, I received a letter stating that I was terminated. I've never lived in a homeless shelter before this. A lot of times I would think that I really shouldn't be in this situation. Like, why am I in this situation? I worked hard, and I didn't deserve to be in that situation just because I was pregnant.
This is an injustice, and unfortunately, Candace is not alone. Their policies are not being enforced, and this is hardly best in class. So we should stand with
A class action charge against Walmart is currently under investigation by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. We reached out to Walmart for comment. Experts suggest that many women stay silent about pregnancy discrimination in the workplace out of fear of retaliation. Rebecca is suing Gap Inc. She was fired from one of their Old Navy stores after over 14 years with the company. How has the fact that you decided to pursue legal action affected future job prospects?
I mean, there's nothing I know for sure, but I'm assuming it has affected getting calls back. I sent out a lot of resumes and apply, and I don't receive phone calls back. It could be that they look me up and see that I filed a discrimination case, and they don't want to deal with that.
It's been how long since you've been fired?
Almost 2 years. When I started working for Old Navy, they offered me full-time salary position if I quit college. So I never finished college and continued with the promotions up the chain. And so now a lot of what I hear is that I need a degree, and I don't have that.
How hard is it to kind of start from scratch?
Taking phone calls with screaming kids in the background doesn't sound very good to a new employer. Then there's the issue of, how do I pay for childcare if I go in an interview? I don't have that extra funds to pay for childcare, and my husband can't take off work because we need that income as well. I kind of actually went through 6 months where I looked at my daughter and thought it was her fault that I had her. Then it turned into I blamed myself for having her when I was trying to work with a career. So I hit major depression and kind of hit rock bottom. It was really hard to find happiness with my children. I'm on medication. It's something that I deal with. It's pretty hard. It was a big part of my life taken away from me.
Do you think there is any justification on the part of employers for being concerned about productivity and losing employees for a fairly sizable amount of time?
Well, I think that if you lay it out, let's say the general work life of a person is around 35 years, and let's say they take 2 8-week maternity leaves to have 2 kids. That's 16 weeks. That's 4 months out of 35 years. And there is no evidence anywhere that indicates women that have babies, once they go back to work, don't perform as well, don't try as hard. That's just not accurate.
Did you ever think something like this could happen in this day and age?
No, I didn't think this was around anymore.